Governor Ron DeSantis.
Good afternoon. I've been able to meet with a lot of our first responders, was able to go over with the fire chief and look at some of the work that's been done, as we've done in many days. And I know a lot of people are looking at that with bated breath, as we all have been for many, many days. And people ask, is there hope or what's going to happen? And the way I look at it as an old Navy guy is, when somebody's missing in action in the military, you're missing until you're found, and we don't stop the search. And so I think that that's what's happening. Those first responders are breaking their back, trying to find anybody they can, and they are going to continue to do that. And they've been very selfless. They put themselves at risk to do it. And I thought about that, and then having met this morning with many families who've, this has turned upside down the worlds of a lot of really great people, not only in this state but beyond. And to hear the stories of the folks who are in the towers who either passed away or are missing, the amount of, I think, sympathy that's been pouring in is emblematic of some of the lives that many of these people had been leading. They have touched people all across this world, not just here in southern Florida and not just throughout the whole state of Florida. And it's been very heartbreaking and very touching, because there's a lot of folks who've have been experiencing some unbelievable pain, and the folks that have either passed away or who are missing are almost invariably incredibly special people who've made a huge impact on not only this community but communities all across the country and all across the world. And so when those guys are out there breaking their back on that pile, when they're digging tunnels and putting themselves in harm's way to try to find a void, to try to find an area where they could potentially rescue people, they have that mission and they're doing it, and they're not shirking from it, because they understand that in every one of those condominium buildings were people whose our different families' world revolved around them, grandmothers, grandkids, brothers and sisters. And I just thank them for all their efforts, and I thank them for leaving no stone unturned. And the families, we're going to be there for the long haul on this, and we're just not going to look back, and we're going to be there with any support that we can provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. We're going to have Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez speak in Spanish.
Good afternoon. I'll reiterate what the governor said in Spanish. Buenas tardes. Estamos aquí de nuevo agradeciéndole a todos los que han estado trabajando día tras día, hora tras hora. Sabemos que sigue siendo un proceso muy difícil, un proceso muy doloroso. Tuvimos la oportunidad de reunirnos con varios familiares, algunos que se han identificado y otros que todavía tienen fe y esperanza. Lo que el gobernador les prometió a aquellos que nos pudimos reunir, que vamos a seguir luchando. Como vemos, están más de 200 personas trabajando diariamente sin parar. Eso es algo que nos da mucho ánimo en ver con la energía con que están trabajando. Yo creo que también queremos asegurarle a los familiares que están esperando que todos aquí que estamos trabajando, coordinando, colaborando. No vamos a esperar, no vamos a dejar de trabajar, y eso es parte de lo que es la unión que tenemos aquí. Tenemos también aquí parte de los recursos que el Estado continúa de proveer, Departamento de Oportunidades Económicas, Departamento de Transporte, nuestro Departamento de Servicios de Emergencia. Estamos todos unidos, todos trabajando para el propósito, que es la operación que tenemos aquí, el propósito de lo que es la operación de búsqueda y rescate. Le agradecemos a todos que siguen orando por estas familias, por esta comunidad, porque lo que de verdad nos impactó es los enlaces que tenemos aquí en esta comunidad, lo que hemos podido ver, los cuentos que nos ofrecieron estos familiares, abuelas, hermanos, personas que han impactado vidas aquí en nuestra comunidad, pero no solo aquí en el sur de la Florida, en todo el estado, en todo el país y en todo el mundo. Y yo creo que por eso esto ha sido para nosotros algo muy importante para ser parte. El gobernador ha estado aquí todos los días por la perspectiva del Estado, y vamos a seguir apoyando a la alcaldesa y todos aquí que están trabajando, especialmente los socorristas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. And now the Mayor of Miami-Dade County, the Honorable Daniela Levine Cava.
Here we are, day 6, and the search and rescue continues. It continued throughout the night, throughout the morning. There are currently 210 people working on the mound. The urban search and rescue team has been augmented by teams from all over the state and all over the world. They are working throughout inclement weather. They're working as hard as they ever have, but they are able to make headway even in the face of all of those obstacles. So they're continuing with the 12-hour shifts. They take breaks. They're monitored medically, and just to make sure that they can get back safely on the mound, because it is such painstaking, grueling work. I cannot express enough how grateful we are for their service, their sacrifice, their passion. They live to save lives, and that is what we are witnessing. Their bravery under extremely difficult circumstances, continuing and continuing. We're also so very grateful for everyone who has joined us in this effort. Global teams, state teams, and national teams on standby for us so that we can relieve the wonderful men and women out there. We truly have the best in the world conducting this effort. The federal teams of the USAR search and rescue personnel are rotating in with our current teams. There are more than sufficient personnel on site. We do not need additional resources. We have the best, and we have sufficient, what we need to get this job done. Since our last briefing, no new fatalities have been confirmed, but we have been able to notify each of the 11 families who have lost their loved ones. This is very, very important that the notification has been able to occur, and we're grateful to our Miami-Dade Police Department for their very sensitive handling of this difficult matter. And all the names have been released to the public through our social media platforms. And today we were also very grateful to learn that our president, Joe Biden, will be visiting Surfside on Thursday. He's going to spend time with the families who are affected and with our first responders. We've had his support since he called me day 1 in the morning, and this is so critical that we do have our federal support. So we are very, very grateful for that, and we know that his support will continue throughout. I also want you to know that I've been in close touch with our state attorney, Catherine Fernandez-Rundle, and I am very supportive of the grand jury investigation that she has announced. I have pledged my full cooperation as she moves forward. I have worked closely with grand juries in the past. I'm very familiar with the process, and I will do, and my team will do everything possible to aid them in their efforts to continue that investigation. As I mentioned yesterday, our building audit also continues, and we're taking swift action to immediately identify and address any outstanding issues with the buildings that have not yet completed their 40-year certification process. That's our priority right now. And just last night, our building officer notified one of those properties, a building in Northeast Dade, that 4 balconies must be immediately closed to residents due to safety conditions. So we are proceeding apace with all of the buildings identified, and I know within a matter of days or short weeks we will have addressed all of those safety concerns. And today I am also making an announcement that I will be meeting with subject area experts from multiple relevant fields, from engineering to legal to construction to development to soil to geology, to look closely at every possible angle on this issue related to building safety. So we They will advise me on issues related to building construction, chain of custody and requirements for reporting, condominium regulation, and more, so that my staff and I can develop a set of recommendations for changes that need to be made at all steps in the building process to ensure a tragedy like this will never, ever happen again. And I will be meeting with these experts in the very near future, and I will be planning to look for additional experts who can advise me once further insights are achieved from this investigation. So we'll continue to pull in additional experts as new information becomes available to ensure that we're considering all possible angles, all possible factors and perspectives. For the families who've been impacted by this tragedy, we are continuing to do all that we can to support them in any way that they need. So our new expanded Family Assistance Center has over 20 agencies now offering support, short and long-term counseling, home assistance, travel assistance, psychological and grief counseling, financial assistance, visa and passport support, and much more. In addition, legal support. And we're going to continue to offer our twice daily briefings to the families, and we just completed our morning session before this conference. These sessions have been vital to assisting families to understand the nature of this search, the nature of the entire enterprise. And this is so, so important as we proceed daily on our search and rescue efforts to have them fully aware of every step of the process. So please, I know you join with me in your prayers, your wishes, your hopes during this incredibly difficult time for our families. La misión de búsqueda y rescate continúa 20 horas al día del día, y actualmente tenemos ahora 210 miembros de personal de búsqueda y rescate urbano trabajando a pesar del mal tiempo que hemos tenido desde anoche. Estos equipos continúan alternando turnos de 12 horas y estamos increíblemente agradecidos por su servicio, dedicación y gran valentía en condiciones extremadamente duro y difícil. También agradecemos el apoyo que han ofrecido otros equipos internacionales. Realmente tenemos un equipo de lo mejor en el mundo que está trabajando sin parar. En este momento tenemos todos los recursos que necesitamos y de hecho no tenemos más espacio para personal adicional de búsqueda y rescate. Desde nuestra última conferencia de prensa no se han confirmado nuevas víctimas, pero ya hemos podido notificar a cada una de las 11 familias y todos los nombres se han hecho públicos. Hoy también estamos agradecidos de saber que el presidente Biden visitará a Surfside el jueves para pasar tiempo con las familias afectadas y los socorristas. Estamos profundamente agradecidos por su apoyo desde el primer día y para las familias y toda nuestra comunidad de Miami-Dade. Este es un recordatorio importante de que nuestro condado, nuestro estado y nuestra nación están dando todo lo que tenemos para buscar a las víctimas de esta tragedia y apoyar a las familias en este momento tan devastador. A medida que continúa de búsqueda y el rescate, también estamos trabajando para investigar esta tragedia y tomar acciones urgentes para garantizar la seguridad de todos y cada uno de los residentes de Miami-Dade. He estado en contacto con la fiscal estatal, Kathy Fernandez Rundle, y también apoyo y estamos colaborando con la investigación de gran jurado. Como mencioné ayer, nuestra auditoría de edificios también continúa para que todos los edificios mayores de 40 años reciban su recertificación. Anoche ordenamos el cierre de 4 balcones de un edificio en el noreste del condado debido a problemas de seguridad. Hoy también estoy anunciando que el condado de Miami-Dade convocará a expertos en diferentes campos para evaluar la seguridad de los edificios y recomendar cambios que deben realizar para que esto nunca vuelva a suceder. Para las familias que se han visto afectados por esta tragedia, seguimos haciendo todo lo posible para apoyarlas en todo lo que necesitan con un nuevo centro de asistencia familiar más grande. Seguimos ofreciendo sesiones informativas 2 veces al día a las familias que le han ayudado a comprender dónde nos encontramos en nuestra operación y qué estamos haciendo a diario. Por favor, mantengan a las familias en sus oraciones y los socorristas durante este momento difícil, increíblemente difícil para todos nosotros. Gracias y que Dios te bendiga.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me introduce the Deputy Incident Commander, Charles Cyril.
Good afternoon. Under the leadership of the Mayor, Miami-Dade County is coordinating a unified search, rescue, and assistance efforts consisting of multiple county departments such as Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Miami-Dade Police Department, Water and Sewer, Durham, ISD, County Attorney's Office, and much others. In addition to our federal, state, local, international, and not-for-profit organizations. This has led to a seamless integration of these resources throughout the event. We continue to prosper and utilize these agencies, up to 60 at this time, and over 800 responders who are supporting this effort, integrating into our unified response and ensuring a successful search and rescue effort. Thank you.
Now the Director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management, Kevin Guthrie.
Good morning, everyone. As far as state resources to update, well, first of all, because of the weather, we have the new tent system, which I'm sure you guys will appreciate. In addition to that, we have over 440 state employees involved in on-site response efforts. Those 440 do include the state emergency response team led mutual aid search and rescue teams. We continue to provide assistance through items such as the laundry trailer, as restroom trailers, shower trailers, jackhammers, buckets, air compressors, and many, many more. The Florida Division of Emergency Management Logistics Team will continue to support all resource requests. As of this morning, we have 29 individuals who have registered with FEMA's Individual Assistance Program. Currently, there are 22 organizations that are assisting. I want to go ahead and let you know that FEMA has advised me through the administrator that Virginia Task Force 1, Virginia Task Force 2, and Ohio Task Force 1 are on standby awaiting any type of resource requests that we may need. Again, I think it's appropriate to reiterate Mayor Cava's point that we have all the resources we need. We do not need anyone to self-deploy and help us. We have plenty of resources in reserves, ready to respond. The Florida Department of Transportation, as you've seen the dump trucks this morning, have started to assist with moving debris to an alternate site, and they will continue to do so. The Florida Department of Management Services continues to search with a warehouse for resource donations. The Florida Department of Children and Families is coordinating with Miami-Dade County to distribute gift cards for displaced individuals. Additionally, as a reminder, the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles has deployed 2 of their mobile units here for no fee, cost fee free, driver's license and identification cards, vehicle registrations, and titles to the impacted individuals. But I need to remind you that those hours on those mobile units are from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Family Assistance Center. Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles is also coordinating with the Red Cross to identify any impacted individuals needing additional assistance. We know that this is a difficult time for families and first responders involved in the rescue and recovery efforts. Please know that Florida is here to help you, and I thank the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, for their leadership and allowing us to respond and do what we need to do without any hesitation. I want to remind you, if you cannot find the resource that you're looking for, you can always call Florida's 211 and we will get you to the site that you need to be associated with. The state's priority right now is to ensure the county's needs are being met. FDM personnel will continue to remain on the ground to assist with all response efforts until we are no longer needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And now for the Department of Economic Opportunity, Secretary Dane Eagle.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know, the governor has been making sure that state resources are available where needed. I was boots on the ground with him on Thursday, day one, to assess the situation. And since then, the Department of Economic Opportunity sent 2 mobile units down here over the weekend. Now, this once bustling community has shut down not only to mourn, but to make way for the first responders so that they can do what they need to service this community and, of course, continue the search and rescue mission. Now, we've spoken with dozens of businesses who are putting their needs aside and servicing these first responders, whether it be through food, we've talked to cafes, or some small barbershops who are offering free haircuts. Now, while they're doing that, they're not having their usual business. So there is a need there that needs to be met. We are trying to assess that need, and we need the media's assistance in doing so. You can send local businesses and the businesses in the area to floridadisaster.biz, floridadisaster.biz. Now, the state is also requesting the assistance of the Small Business Administration at the federal level. We've been in communication with them. We hope to draw down some additional funds. But those surveys that these businesses can assess and do on the online will help us to bring down those funds as we continue to help those who are suffering, not only the families, but the local businesses who are serving our first responders. Thank you to the governor, the local community, and the federal government for stepping up to assess this need.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And now the Surfside Mayor, Charles Burkett.
Good morning. I would just like to add a few things, talk about I walked the site this morning and tell you what I saw. We had overnight, there were issues with some debris falling off the building. The west side of the pile had to be cordoned off a little bit because it was becoming excessively dangerous to work there. What has happened is, I understand the work still continues from the sides and underneath, but that area was cordoned off until they can sort of get their arms around the debris that's falling down. The second thing is that they've made very good progress on the east end. It's apparent that they've got the pile down to the point where you could see into the parking lot. So there is great progress. Lastly, with respect to the site, there is an overwhelming amount of workers, rescue workers on the site working and with cranes and taking off debris, and the work continues. I attended the family meeting this morning. It was informative. The Israelis had announced that they were going to be bringing in additional workers, which made the families, rescue workers, which made the families. Obviously, I could tell that there was more relief in the room. There was frustration. There was a little anger. There were questions about why the work has to stop when there's rain, thunderstorms, and lightning. The police chief or the fire chief addressed that issue and said that he would talk to the higher ups about whether or not that worked, because it was an interesting comment, because the speaker said they're already risking their lives anyway. They're working under a building that could fall down. Why do we have to stop for lightning? It was an interesting question, and the chief said he would get back to them. One of the other questions by the family members was, how long can people survive under the rubble? Which was an excellent question, and there didn't seem to be a good answer to that. I had several days ago sent Mayor Cava a copy of an article that I was sent, which dealt exactly with that point. And I thought it was very important to let the family members know, so I stood up and I talked about what I knew from the article. And it talked about, there were several different instances, but the most notable was the one from May 2013, where a woman was pulled from the ruins of a factory in Bangladesh 17 days after it collapsed. So I think, as the governor said earlier, nobody, and the lieutenant governor, nobody's giving up hope here. Nobody's stopping. The work goes on, full force. We're dedicated to get everyone out of that pile of rubble and reunite them with their families. We have all the resources we want. I've been saying this since the beginning. We don't have a resource problem. We have a luck problem. And as you know, we just got dumped on by some rain, but thankfully it looks like that's clearing. But the work will go on. We will continue to work at 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And for the Boulder County Commissioner Chairman, Honorable Jose Diaz.
Thank you, Elvis. As you all know, the mayor, the governor, lieutenant governor, and all that are involved already said the particulars. I simply want to say thank you to all of you for doing your reports in a very humane and proper way, and doing it in a way that it was full of information for people, which is important. I want to thank you from all of us, from my colleagues and I. That is very important. The world is looking, and your news and what you're putting out is what's going on. And I'm very proud that I've been to a lot of unfortunate disasters, and sometimes you really can't watch the news because of the way it's presented. And I will tell you that I'm very proud of all of you and the work you've done, as I am proud of the first responders, as all have stated. And one of them that we haven't mentioned too much, group that is the police. I really want to thank them for the work that Dade County Police and all the police agencies that stepped it up from the cities are doing, and every level, the chief, the director that is here, and everybody else. So I want to thank them and all the other departments. Quiero darle las gracias específicamente a la prensa por hacer el trabajo que ha hecho. Ha hecho un trabajo excelente. El mundo entero está mirando. Y cuando están mirando, están viendo la realidad de las circunstancias, porque la noticia es exacta lo que está saliendo. Y para nosotros eso es muy importante. Para mis colegas y yo y todos los que estamos acá es muy importante. Solo quiero agradecer a toda la prensa por todo el trabajo que está haciendo, que estas no son las mejores condiciones para hacerlo, pero gracias por lo que han hecho. También a los bomberos que no paran, sabemos, le damos gracias constantemente, pero hay un grupo de personas que no se les da las gracias adecuadamente, y eso es el Departamento de Policía Miami-Dade County y los demás departamentos que han participado. Tengo que darle las gracias por su profesionalismo, en la forma que obran y todo el trabajo que están haciendo. Así que por parte de mis colegas y yo y todos, muchísimas gracias a todos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Chief Alan Comiskey.
Good afternoon. We continue to search the grid layer by layer, removing debris as we continue to move forward in our search and rescue efforts. As we mentioned before, this is a very tedious effort. It's devastating what occurred in regards to the collapse and what we're seeing. We're moving debris piece by piece and searching through. We moved over approximately 3 million pounds of concrete at this time, which equates to over 850 cubic feet. We have all the state Florida task forces here deployed. We have a federal task force on standby, as well as had the federal incident support team arrive today. Again, extremely difficult. Just when we first arrived and what we saw, the horrific, catastrophic type of collapse. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, we were able during that time frame to remove 37 individuals. 37 individuals. And we continue searching with all our assets and all our support assets. All the task forces here in Florida, as well as the federal on standby, and we will continue to move through. I want to emphasize, when we started this search, it's extremely difficult to what we saw, what we encountered. We deployed our search teams based on what we evaluated and what we saw in regards to highest probability. And as we've been mentioning time and time again with our searches, those are the key things we look for. Constantly running with our canines, our live dogs, searching for hope of life. Using different audible equipment, as well as video equipment, searching for life. That's what we've been doing from the get-go. And then we reevaluate and keep assessing. As we mentioned in regards to the grids, how we have it deployed now with our large equipment that's here and all our different task force. 24 hours a day, we have over 200 task force members made up of Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Florida Task Force 1, and then all the remaining Florida Task Force. Non-stop, around the clock. searching. It's a methodical, very difficult process. You know, as we're removing debris, we're just finding more debris that's just concrete pulverized. You know, it's extremely difficult. As we mentioned in regards to looking through void spaces, looking for key signs. I want to be clear. I mean, we haven't been seeing those. You know, we come across small and we keep moving. We keep moving. We keep trying. From the get-go, from what we saw, devastating. Okay, but we continue moving forward and continue pushing. And we'll see if we, you know, where we're at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And now to give some comments in Spanish, PIO for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Erica Benitez.
Muy buenas tardes. Así como hemos dicho, continuamos esta gran misión y muy difícil misión de búsqueda y rescate. Nuestros equipos, aproximadamente 300 miembros o rescatistas han estado trabajando noche y día sin parar, sin descanso en esta gran labor, la cual se ha complicado de varias maneras, pero continuamos trabajando arduamente para encontrar resultados. En este momento tenemos estas cuadrillas que están trabajando buscando los escombros de diferentes maneras, no solamente en estas cuadrantes, sino también capa por capa. Y esta es una labor muy metódica, es una labor la cual requiere muchísima precisión y la cual toma tiempo. Nosotros hemos removido en este momento más de 3 millones de libras de concreto y escombros. Esto significa son más o menos 850 yardas cúbicas. Para darle una idea de qué cantidad es esa, son más o menos 750 vehículos, entendiendo que cada vehículo pesa más o menos 4.000 libras. Esta es una gran cantidad de escombros y es un gran trabajo por medio de los hombres y mujeres que están trabajando aquí hoy. También queremos resaltar que aunque sí tenemos un gran número de personas que todavía siguen en los escombros y que no hemos encontrado los sobrevivientes, queremos resaltar que el primer día estos equipos de rescate salvaron 37 personas entre los escombros, al igual que en el edificio que estaban atrapados. Estas personas no hubiesen sobrevivido si no hubiesen sido por los esfuerzos de estos rescatistas. Queremos seguir diciéndole a las familias que este es un momento muy difícil y que entendemos lo que está pasando. Gracias.
Thank you, Erica. And for the Miami-Dade Police Department, Chief of Strategic Response Division, Edgardo Caniva.
Hello, everyone. We have a small update on our traffic plan, just a minute change. Our new plan has been communicated with our public safety partners and our city officials, and is also posted on social media. So new closures today is going to be Collins Avenue from 8-1 Street to 9-1 Street, and from Harding from 8-1 Street to 9-6 Street. We do have checkpoints at Abbott and 9-6 Street and at Harding and 9-6 Street. And let me reemphasize again that residents specifically within the 33154 zip code, and also employees, business owners, employees of hotels, and customers will be allowed access. Please bear with us. We understand the challenges, and be patient, and we'll get this resolved as soon as we can. Eventually, we're still reevaluating on a daily basis, and our ultimate goal at some point will be to open Harding Avenue. En español. Buenas. Tenemos un cambio pequeño en el plan de tráfico de la policía de Miami-Dade. Ya les informamos a los departamentos de policía que están trabajando con nosotros, y el plan ya está puesto en social media. Lo que tenemos en este momento cerrado es Collins Avenue de la 81 calle hasta la 91 calle, y Harding de la 81 calle a la 96 calles. Tenemos puntos de reviso en Abbott y la 96, y también en Harding y la 96 calles. Quiero empezar otra vez que los residentes y también los empleados de los negocios, los dueños de los negocios y empleados de los hoteles van a tener acceso a entrar del área. Y también estamos evaluando a ver cuándo podemos abrir Harding, y en algún momento les vamos a ver. Ahora por este momento no podemos hacer nada, pero esperamos que muy pronto en el futuro lo podamos abrir. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Chief. And for the American Red Cross, Ryan Logan.
Good afternoon. So the Red Cross continues to coordinate with our community and local partners as well as our government agencies to provide support to this community. Currently, we have over 125 volunteers and staff on the ground providing highly trained and highly skilled support. In addition, while our main priority is really focusing on the entire community, one of our main focuses at this current moment is to provide assistance to those survivors directly impacted from the Champlain South Tower. We are asking for individuals from that tower, if they have not done so already, to meet with the Red Cross at the Family Assistance Center that the mayor mentioned earlier, as well as if there are any survivors that are staying with loved ones or friends or family outside of the area. We ask that they contact the local Red Cross wherever they are, who will put them in contact with us here on the ground so that we can make sure that we can assess and ensure that they have what they need for this immediate phase of their recovery. As I mentioned earlier in the week, I want to just reiterate, we know how this affects the emotions of folks both here locally and afar. And so as a result, we are working with our local community partners to offer some free emotional and psychological resiliency training. We hoped with over the next 3 to 4 days to actually have the locations of where we will be providing those free courses to the community. So it'll be a great opportunity for folks just to assess themselves, but also learn how to recognize the signs of trauma or the impacts in their own family, as well as how to speak to their children about things like this. So I would just encourage you guys to be on the lookout for that information as we get the actual dates and locations arranged for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. We're going to go into questions and answers now, and we appreciate your cooperation so far in all these press conferences. So wait until you're being selected. Please address the person who you're going to question, so that way that person can come forward. And immediately following the questions and answers, we're going to go to the Creole translation. Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor.
So the grand jury has not yet been impaneled. So I was speaking to the state attorney this morning about it, and we were talking about whenever it is moving forward that we will be fully on board. She has announced that she will be asking the grand jury to look at this matter.
And what will it be seeking?
I'm sorry?
What will it seek?
Like all of us, answers.
Any of the Spanish media got a question, so we can all alternate here? Spanish right here.
Alcaldesa, buenos días. Quería preguntarle sobre el mismo tema. Usted dice que aquí está la fiscalía. También tenemos entendido que hay agentes del FBI participando en la investigación. Quería preguntarle para que me confirme si es cierto que el FBI participa en la investigación y el tema del gran jurado lo va a convocar la fiscalía o quién va a convocar el gran jurado. Gracias, jefe.
Bueno, no, el FBI no está en la investigación. La investigación primero es con el Miami-Dade Police Department para recuperar los miembros de familia. La alcaldesa y la NIST están aquí. Tenemos un grupo reunido y ya va a haber dos investigaciones. Uno sobre lo que ha pasado con las víctimas y el otro es sobre lo que ha pasado. Va a ser un fact-finding y la fiscalía va a también tener el grand jury también para mirar esta investigación también. Eso se va a demorar, es un proceso muy técnico y se tiene que hacer bien y se va a hacer bien para traer justicia o para traer lo que ha pasado aquí.
Thank you, sir. NBC.
Chief, I think you'd be best for this. So, residents are talking to us about those that evacuated, pets being left behind. How did that dealt with? Is ASPCA dealing with that? What are you hearing on the pet front?
In regards to when we first arrive, we do what we call a primary search and a secondary search. So we see that devastation to the building that's still standing. When we first arrived, our units did immediate searches, immediate removals in regards from balconies, wherever we found individuals. We searched each unit. So every unit that we're able to gain access, if not through the primary, which is the first time we go through, it's our secondary search. So we search through there as well. Obviously, we're looking for live victims, individuals. But obviously, if we come across a pet, we would move them as well. We haven't. So we didn't come across any animals as we went through any types of pets during our primary and secondary, so we know that part of it's been searched. Other than that, that's all I can confirm in regards to any possible events.
Because there's many more to get to.
Well, the fact
that you can't access now.
The fact that we went through on our primary and secondary, we would have came across.
You want to say the building?
Thank you, Chief.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Yes, and another aspect, when we went through there, the building itself, again, in our line of work is fire rescue professionals, Miami-Dade firefighters. Again, the first unit on scene. As a fire chief, I couldn't be prouder. When I look to see what we did, and even now, and I got here probably about 45 minutes into the incident, and when I see what we put ourselves in, wow. The rescue efforts that we did, what we went through going on those initial first hours of this environment at 1:30 in the morning, 1:20 when this came in, 1:24 when this call came in, and just nonstop throughout, and we've been nonstop since. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Miami-Dade County, all our local resources within Miami-Dade County, all our Florida resources coming with our task force, with our federal teams coming on standby, and that's what we emphasize. I mean, we see the magnitude of this damage. We see, and that building collapsed almost in the footprint of where that building stood. I'm talking about 12 stories with subterranean, with garages, all within that same footprint. So I'm just trying to emphasize the magnitude of what we're encountering, what we're seeing, and we still keep pushing forward. So yes, I mean, we definitely searched and went through.
And the safety issues.
I'm sorry. And the other issue as well, I mean, there's definitely structural issues, and I kind of went off topic there. We can't go back in the building, okay? We have, with our USAR teams, we have structural engineers. We have engineers off-site. With now the federal incident support team arriving, they also will assist with the engineer component. And right now, we will not go back in that building. We have a section cordoned off away from that building that we won't search in as well. Okay, so there's definitely concerns on all aspects, and we keep going.
Thank you, Chief. Followed by the AP. Governor.
Okay, so the question's about meeting with the chief of police for North Bay Village, who's I think she was 93-year-old mother was in the towers, and it was on the one hand heartbreaking because this is somebody that he had just dropped off back to her home just I think 2 days before the collapse, but it was also inspiring because I could see the difference that she made in his life, in his wife's life, and in her grandkids' life. And I think that the life that she led, and for all these years, and obviously, no one's given up hope, but you see that those types of stories replicated throughout with these families, and none of these tragedies are ever easy. It's very difficult to see somebody who's just asleep in their bed, and then you get news that their building just collapsed, and then you're waiting to see what is the resolution? Can they be saved? Can they be identified? And many of these families obviously are waiting. These guys are working their tails off, and as the fire chief said, it is a very difficult scene, and they are leaving no stone unturned, and they're going to continue to do that. But it's been a very, very difficult time, and I think the grief has been, in some respects, unique, just given the scale of the tragedy. But I was inspired just talking with him, and you could tell what he's been able to do, what his kids have been able to do. Very successful family, and it all traced back to that matriarch. And God bless her, and God bless that family.
Associated Press.
Mayor Burkett mentioned that there was debris falling from the building this morning.
Was that new? Is it getting worse? Does that indicate that there might be some shifts in the remainder of the building that you guys are worried about?
Well, in regards to the building itself, we're constantly monitoring. So no, we haven't seen any shift at all. So we have special technology that's measuring to make sure there's not any shift. So that's a constant. In regards to the debris falling, I wasn't briefed what transpired there. As I mentioned, there's that 45-foot area that we're not, which is next to the building, that we are not working in because of the overhangs, the hazards that we have overhead.
Spanish over here. Ma'am, Spanish over here.
Hi, it's for the mayor.
Oh, I thought I heard Spanish. I'm sorry. Spanish?
Señora.
Español.
Yes, the group of Mexico that they are called the Todos, that they are special and in these situations are here voluntary, willing to
Yes.
help in a situation.
And we are accepting their help. Thank you so much.
Yes?
Yes, yes, thank you so much. They've been in communication, Alan, the Topos group.
¿Quién se tiene que comunicar?
Okay, excuse me, just to clarify, as was said here before, we have so many groups on standby, and that is part of their, that's what we're seeking from them. We are circulating, we're rotating groups in. There are 210 people on the mound. We can't put anybody else on the mound, so we're circulating in, and they are part of our backup team. Thank you. Sí, que estamos con recursos suficientes para todo lo que necesitamos y los que están aquí esperando para ayudarnos en el momento que necesitamos, y este grupo es una parte de ellos.
Thank you, ma'am. Channel 4.
We've been told that 2,000 buildings are overdue for 20-year certification here in the county. Have you heard that?
No, ma'am, I do not have that number.
Can you give us an update on the audit so far?
We reported it out this morning. It was in the order of 40-something that were due. They've all been under review. We produced a list of those that we find that need to have their issues addressed. They mostly they're electrical issues, not structural. And as you heard earlier, we have directed a unit with 4 balconies to evacuate those areas.
And Mayor, how many buildings are part of that?
The last 2 questions going to be the gentleman in the black and the lady over here.
For the governor or the mayor, if you guys can talk about whether or not there's an accurate number of how many foreign nationals were in the building and how many were among the unaccounted or confirmed victims. Also, how many foreign nationals may have been given visas and what kind of help those families are getting.
Well, I'll answer first to say that obviously we have a fluid list of those who are still unaccounted for, and they definitely include foreign nationals. It is a fluid list, so we can't say it's a final list, and we've been in touch with the consulates for the various countries represented, and we are working with the State Department as well. Sí, estamos aquí con varias personas extranjeras en los edificios desde la información que hemos recibido, pero los números son fluidos y estamos hablando con los consulados y dando toda la ayuda también del Estado, Departamento del Estado, para ayudar a estas familias, pero no tenemos números final.
Thank you. The last question right here before we go to Creole. Channel 10.
She's got one too, and she pulled it from So, can you just please tell me, there are a lot of families who are foreign nationals or...
Who's this for? Who's it for?
Miami Herald.
No, for who?
For the mayor.
Mayor, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Please tell us, there's a lot of families who are foreign nationals. There might have been staff, maybe building staff there. Will they be eligible, or how can they access FEMA aid or any other?
Correct. So FEMA is supporting all of the families at this point. Obviously, there may be some things down the line that they would not be eligible, but fortunately for us, because of the outpouring of incredible support, $1.6 million already donated, we are making sure that everybody who needs assistance will get it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're going to go straight into the Creole translation. We're going to go into the Creole translation now. No, we've been instructed to go straight into the Creole now. Lionel Leverot for the...
Because the crew is right
Bonsoir tout le monde. Recherche a continué, Jean que ça te prévoit avant et tout le monde a continué à faire recherche. Depuis que nous avons fait dernière conférence de presse là, pas aucun cas de décès à signaler. Magistrat va signaler reconnaissance libre parce que le président Biden a visité d'ici jeudi par an avec premier secourission. Et il promet tout pour y contribuer et collaborer avec le travail grand jury qui va le faire très bientôt, de sorte qu'il est capable de travailler sur ça qui a un rapport avec ça qui s'est passé. Magistrat tout et a travaillé avec spécialistes dans tout le domaine pour capable faire correction à partir de recommandations que vous avez faites pour ça qui est arrivé bientôt et avant, pas arriver dans le moment qui va venir. Donc, magistrat continue le travail de sorte que les recommandations sont capables de suivre en matière de construction. Merci.